Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551. Excuse me. And I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of October 17th to the 23rd, where I take a look at some of the stories that caught my attention and give you my thoughts and my opinion on them. And we have 4 stories to cover, including the Switch Online expansion pack and the, well, let's just say it's getting bombarded on YouTube. Big time though. An interview Suda51 has said in terms of the future of where Grasshopper manufacturer is going to go though. We have the NPD charts and there's some interesting stuff on it, including the situation where the Switch is, to Tales of Arise, if I'm saying the name correctly, and how well that game did. And we're also going to be taking a look at the situation surrounding Metroid Dread, ranging from David Jeff, or if I'm saying his name correctly, the person who helped create the God of War and the Twisted Metal, his comments on the game that hasn't sit very well with everyone though, and to basically an update to the game, to new allegations, this time against Mercury System, though, in regards of during the development of the game and all. And if you're interested on where I got all these information, all that stuff, I'll have links in the description of where I got the source of them, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. But before we get started, we'll do what I like to call the quick My 2 Cents, stories that have caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details though. We'll start off first with a report that for those who are planning to get the Steam Deck, Steam will offer a basically an icon that will indicate which games are compatible with the Steam Deck though, what games will work fine on it, what games that could work on it but you're going to have to make some adjustments or something like that, to what games won't work on the Steam Deck or currently don't work at this time though. So this might come in handy for those who are planning to get the Steam Deck, and I want to make sure to know for certain what games in their Steam library is going to work on the Steam Deck or not. So not a bad thing for Valve to do though. We also learned that there's a report that Ubisoft is greenlighting a new Splinter Cell game, which on one hand that sounds great, but given the direction Ubisoft have been going lately though, it does have some concerns about it, considering their push for, always, the whole recurring user spending, monetizations, and all that. So there's some concerns about the direction Ubisoft could be going with the Splinter Cell, especially if they're pushing for an open world part though. And let's not forget, this is the same company where Beyond Good and Evil 2 has been in development hell for God knows how long, and who knows if that game will ever see the light of days, including the other one called Skulls and Bones, which also has disappeared off the radar though. We also learned that the Xbox mini fridge that was born out of those who basically made fun of when they announced the Xbox Series X as looking like a fridge though, apparently that is being resold at ridiculous prices on eBay, which is kind of unfortunate and sad though, considering the fact that we have to deal with the bots and resellers, especially for those who are struggling to find a PS5 though. But supposedly Microsoft's going to try to push some more out of these Xbox mini fridges, but it is sort of ridiculous that it's being sold at outrageous prices on eBay though. We also learned that Phil Spencer has reiterated that Xbox is not done with acquisitions, that it looks like they're still planning to buy in some studios, which would be really interesting to see if their next purchase will be as big as what it was with ZeniMax, with Bethesda and all. I mean, there have been rumors about the possibility of them buying Take-Two, which could definitely be a game changer if that happens. That said, it can also open the door to the whole issue of are they monopolizing it to the point that there is no competitor or competition? So we just don't know. That certainly is interesting if that brings that up, should a purchase like that actually emerge. We also saw the trailer for the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League though, which looks nice though, but we have yet to see any gameplay or anything like that. And I would like to know how the game is going to play, especially if you want to play it as a single player experience. There's also the concern of whether WB Games is going to push for any kind of online experience or an always online kind of approach, which I'm a little bit concerned, considering that this is a game developed by Rocksteady that did the excellent Batman Arkham series, has always been a single player experience. So I have some concerns, but I'll take a wait and see approach. We also learn about a report about Microsoft subscription, which is kind of a mixed bag. This one is from Axiom, and if I can get it out. Yeah, from Axiom, that has reported that basically that Game Pass subscription growth was up 37%, but it did not meet the company's growth goal, which is set at 48%. So obviously they were off on it though. Does that mean this is the end for Game Pass? Not necessarily, but it's clear that they have to make some room for improvements though. Hopefully we'll start seeing more first-party games that will draw people to Game Pass though. We've gotten games like Psychonauts. We're going to have the upcoming Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite though. And of course Starfield, depending on how well that game turns out though. So hopefully as Microsoft builds up their first-party studios and put those games on Game Pass, this will sort of generate and bring people over to maybe improve the growth though. So it doesn't signal the end of Game Pass, but obviously though they have their work cut out for them. We also learned that Rockstar has released the first teaser trailer and snapshots of the Grand Theft Auto trilogy of Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. And I will say, based on what they showed so far, I am a little impressed. It looks like a mixture of like a more polished version of those original games, a mixture of old and new. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they play, especially especially since they're going to be using, in terms of controls, a GTA 5 style of approach, which certainly isn't bad. It will be out on November 11th, basically I think digitally, where I think a physical version is set for like December 6th. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know a physical version is coming though. I am still waiting to see how the game looks on the Nintendo Switch, because what they showed so far basically is, I think, the 4K HD version. I'm curious to see how this game will look on the Switch, how it will run on the Switch, and if a physical version is coming to the Nintendo Switch, will it be all 3 games in one cartridge, or is it going to be one of those, one game will be on the cartridge, but the rest you have to download, or is it going to be just an empty box with a piece of paper on it? So we still don't know information about that. And a follow-up with the GTA trilogy though is that it's apparently one of the games, San Andreas, will be making its way over to Xbox Game Pass, which should be nice for those who aren't sure about picking up the trilogy just yet and want to maybe try it out before deciding if it's worth purchasing though. Word has it that the price is at $60 though, so really nice that they put that game in, although I am wondering why they didn't do with Vice City or GTA 3 in any way. But either way though, one of the games are going to be coming to Game Pass though. We also learned about, and Microsoft has revealed the new 512 gigabyte SD card, or the Seagate card, and the 2 terabyte Seagate card. However, the price point may be a turnoff for some folks. As been reported though, the 512 one will set you back at $140 here in the US, while the 2 terabyte one will launch at $400 here at the US though. So while it's great that they have finally revealed a 2 terabyte one, that $400 is that's going to be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of folks. And I've heard some arguments that's like almost as much as the console itself, or more like as close to like what a PS5 or an Xbox Series X is, to be exact. I mean, as much as I would like to get the 2 terabyte one, I'm probably going to hold off and wait for a sale before I even consider buying it. Hopefully the sale will have the price drop down to a point where it's reasonable enough. So great that they announced the 2 terabyte one, but that $400 is going to be a hard pill to swallow for some folks out there who, especially if you have a Xbox Series S and decide to take a all digital approach this generation in regards of which Xbox system to own though. We also, and in the more non-gaming in the movie news, we learned that the stars from the movie Eternal had to cancel a live performance after basically they may have been exposed to the COVID virus though. However, it does seem to be reported that they tested negative, but out of abundance of caution, they had to basically cancel the event though, which is, though unfortunate, is understandable, though. I think we have to take necessary precautions to protect ourselves from the COVID virus and all that stuff, and if it means they have to stay home and cancel the event, that's understandable, though, although that supposedly they held a virtual event, which may not be the most ideal choice, but it may be the right thing to do given given the situation and all that stuff. And last but not least, supposedly the workers and at Hollywood strike may have come to an end as the labor unions and I think the companies have sort of struck a deal, which is hopefully good, and hopefully it basically means that the workers are certainly not going to get the short end of the stick on this deal. So hopefully this is a very good deal and all. Okay, with the quick My 2 cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with Metroid Dread. Now, the game has been out for a couple of days and all that stuff, and the game is definitely sitting well with a lot of folks, ranging from sales to reviews to even being nominated by the Joystick Awards for nomination, I think, for Game of the Year, which is definitely nice. So the game is definitely off to a good start and all. It's even gotten people who've never played the other Metroid games attention, especially has shot up on the Wii U's eShop charts to the 3DS eShop charts, though I still admit it is a little bit disappointed that the Game Boy Metroid games haven't made their way over to the Nintendo Switch or even Metroid Prime Trilogy, though. This would have been a great opportunity and all. But in either case, I'm glad to see that Dread is doing very well. But at the same time, the game has also garnished some controversies, though. One of the controversies we learned was that, however, that some folks who worked on the game, even for a short period of time, were not credited when the endgame credits showed up, which I will say, I think those folks should have been credited, though, regardless if your time there was short or not, and I stand behind that. Well, now there is sort of two controversies that's kind of come up. The first one has to do with a game designer by the name of David Jaffe, Jaffe. He supposedly helped out in the God of War games during the PS2 era and the Twisted Metal series, though. I remember playing the original God of War on the PlayStation 2. A classic in my book. I still think it is a good game after all these years. It kind of feels like if you combine Rygar and the Devil May Cry series into one. So I definitely do enjoy the game. However, he made some comments recently by trying out Metroid Dread, and he got into a rant that unfortunately didn't exactly sit well with everyone, and it brought up the issue of the debate about basically making a game difficult and so forth, though. So in a article, let me see if I could get it out, though. Let me just close some of these. Okay, so here it is. In an article from DualShocker, it reads that, quote, while many Metroid fans have been eager to tuckling into the latest entries of the franchise since its release last Friday, God of War David Jaffe hasn't been having a good time, unfortunately. Jaffe, if I'm saying his last name correctly, took to YouTube to stream the game, but things didn't go too well when he ran into issue where he wasn't sure where to go next. Frustrated, Jaffe's viewers ended up telling him that to proceed, he needs to shoot the blocks above him and carry on playing the game. While this frustration obviously still plays on his mind, he later recorded a reaction video of him talking about this particular area of Metroid Dread that caused him so much aggravation. In the YouTube video, though, Jaffe talked about how the game has a shit design system and refers to the title as a scared cow. Taking things a little further, Jaffe stated that if this is acceptable to you, then you are an effing moron, and also posted on Twitter stating that the developers at Kena, Bridge of Spirits, and Returnal are making their games too difficult, and how much he really dislikes this apparent movement, though. Kena, Metroid, Returnal, all leading to march towards super challenging games. Maybe it's NES generations coming into their own as game designs, but I effing hate this shit. And it's not an age thing. I never liked it, but I wasn't so rampant. I like developers want to push players away. Naturally, JAFFE's Twitter statement got a few responses, with one person pointing out within the first 10 minutes of the game, it tells you some blocks are destructible and to look for ways to shoot your environment, though. This person wrote, "To emphasize my point, here's the screenshot. Some destructible blocks are hidden. Try shooting at your surrounding. First 10 minutes of gameplay, not including the intro, and immediately after the missile block tutorial, it spells out for you playing as Day, though." Now, he has posted several videos, and they have gotten really a huge amount of dislikes, though. Maybe not on the level of Nintendo's expansion trailer, though, which I'll get to that one later, but nevertheless, it is basically, definitely did not sit very well with a lot of folks. And I think what didn't help his case is basically calling people effing morons, though. But in regards to the whole issue about game difficulty, though, personally, I think that's really up to the developers to decide how difficult they want the game to make. If they want to make it challenging or not, though. I mean, there are Mario games that I enjoy that are fun and enjoyable, but there are Mario games that can be extremely challenging. Games like New Super Mario Bros. Wii and U, those are very difficult 2D games, and there are moments where, yeah, I can get a little frustrated, but still enjoyable nevertheless, though. And yeah, make no mistakes, Dark Souls or Souls-like games can be very challenging, and for some folks, you gotta have the patience to try those games out, though. But really, I'm not buying his argument. This really comes down to how the developers want to make the kind of game, if they want to make it challenging or not, and it really comes down to basically up to the consumers of whether they want a game that gives them a challenge or whether they want something that's a bit on the casual side, though. So it really comes down to it, and I really don't buy his argument. As for me, someone who has played different Metroid games and games in the Metroidvania series, though, first of all, not to mention someone who's about to turn 40 next year, though, this isn't unusual to see in a Metroid game, to be exact, though. I mean, there are certain areas that you won't be able to go to until you get the certain power-up, so there is a bit of backtracking, though, and I really don't see this as bad game design. This is what it is. It's the Metroidvania formula. It's the type of game where some areas you won't be able to get access to right away. You'll have to come back later, though. I mean, hell, that's how these Metroidvania games are originally designed. Even one of my favorite Castlevania Symphony of the Night, same approach as well. So I really don't buy his argument, though. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing personal against the guy. I like God of War and all, but I think he is dead wrong on his comment, though. And this is just right on the same level as the infamous someone who played, Super Metroid on the Wii U and made the infamous "you can't crawl." That was like a whole issue that blew up on Miiverse and on the internet and all. So I think I have to say his comments were, I think his response was taken way out of line. I understand not every game is going to be for everyone, but I think calling people an effing moron doesn't help your cause or help your case in any way. Alright, in the other part of the Metroid news, it seems as though that Nintendo has rolled out their first patch for the game. For those who may not remember, there was supposedly a bug in the basically if you put certain map points on the map that could cause losing your progress or possibly kicking you out of the game or anything like that. But apparently it seems as though, if I'm reading this correctly, Nintendo has basically released their first patch. The patch is version 1.0.1. It was released on October 20th, and here's what it says. Quote, in terms of the general fix an issue where if a map marker is placed on a specific door in the map, the door destroyed with the beam obtained at the end of the game. Showing that door at the end of the game will cause the game to forcefully quit with the message "the software was closed because of an error" occurs, and fixes several other issues to improve the overall game experience. So very nice that Nintendo addressed this issue, though. I really wish they should have. I really wish their Q&A team or those who were testing the game out should have spotted this earlier and addressed this before the game is released. But at the very least, they have fixed it though, which is certainly nice though. So great that they fixed it. Wish that they had addressed it earlier. And last but not least, it seems as though more controversy, at least leveled at Mercury Systems, seems to have emerged in terms of basically surrounding the development of this game. In another article, if I can get it out, from Nintendo Life, it reads that Metroid Dread studio hit with allegation of poor organization and management, though. According to the article, it reads, quote, Spanish website AIT Games had published further information after speaking to multiple former staff members regarding their time at the studio working on Dread. Programmers and artists who worked in the game talked about management and organization issue and a negative, stressful culture at Mercury System. The article contains no comments or collaboration from current Mercury System staff, but details various grievances by former employees throughout development. One area involved overscope that necessary cuts on the part of Nintendo, specifically a period between April and July 2020, when Nintendo reviewed progress on the game and made various cuts to address a supposed bottleneck in the art pipeline. There were about 120 cinematics to do. It was too big and overscopes, and one ex-programmer who left the studio shortly after. Another substantial cut is mentioned from the previous year as well. Development of Metroid Dread is described as quite chaotic, many times giving me directions, my lead and the game director contradicting each other, said another programmer. Another artist had to say to this site of the management style placed at the studio, quote, they do not trust the workers at all, and it shows. You don't feel valid. The bad atmosphere is constant, and it's very tense in general. Punishment at the studio are alleged to range from isolating the workers or changing the group to the same sudden dismissal. Elsewhere, allegations are made of improper treatment of staff and contacted regarding salary negotiation, as well as the negative assessments of the studio's response to the pandemic. One programmer said the pandemic had not been well managed. It was total and utter chaos, and described unsafe anti-COVID measures employed in the workplace as staffs were unable to work on the project remotely. Inconsistence in the Human Resource Department responded to employees' grievance as cited, with one example detailing the workers' right to leave the office to cast a vote for the Madrid community elections, which fell on a working day. Questions due to current state of development at the time. The article also touched on credit debate, with fear of speaking out in public suggested as a factor which has kept people silent until now. This person said, quote, I think they played a bit with the fact that a lot of people don't dare speak in public. I know two more people who are not properly credited, but I understand that they are afraid to complain because it seems that they are going to sink your career. Another worker elaborated, though, the main leader knows a lot of people and they can destroy your career. If they have a problem with you, they don't mind talking bad about you and screwing your career, and that's why people don't talk. Now, if these allegations are necessarily true, and if they are, I really think the higher-ups need to go. They need to bring in people that are willing to treat their employees with respect, though. I think that is inexcusable and unacceptable that you have folks in the higher-up who are not addressing some of the concerns and basically want to create an environment where employees don't speak out if something is wrong there. That is unacceptable, and I think the higher-ups in that case definitely need to go, especially when you have dealing with a pandemic. You want to make the environment as safe as possible for people to work, and if not, and if remote work is necessary, then you need to make sure the employees have the tools and necessary stuff to be able to do their job if they're doing remote work, to be exact. And the fact that you combine this with basically the whole credit debacle issue, though, it tells me that there needs to be a change in leadership at Mercury System. So I really think that this is inexcusable for any of the higher-ups to treat their employees like this. So overall, the takeaway with the situation with Metroid Dread is I would say the creator of God of War and Twisted Metal is wrong. I get it. Not every game is going to appeal with everyone, though. But the way he complained about it was ridiculous, and calling people effing morons does not help his point of view in any way, though. The fact that they fixed one of the bugs in Metroid Dread is certainly nice, though. But the working conditions that we're hearing about, assuming these allegations are true, at Mercury System, definitely needs to change. If this is still going on, then the leadership and those who were involved in creating, in terms of how they handle the situation, they need to be fired. They need to bring in leadership that actually works and cares about their safety of their employees. This is unacceptable for that kind of leadership in a working environment like that. So that is inexcusable for the leaders at Mercury System for how they treated some of their employees and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with the NPDs, and apparently a end to how the Nintendo Switch has been at the top of the charts, though. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the NPDs. As we know, this is every month or so, the NPD release their charts of how video games did and what games did and did well and all that stuff. And apparently there are several different milestones or interesting things that came out of this. One of that is, to be exact, is that after about 33 months, the Nintendo Switch being at the top came to an end this week, as the PS5 became the best-selling system in basically the month of September and all. But as far as games go, several games actually did very well in September, including games like WarioWare, Get It Together, and even Tales of Arise, if I'm saying the name correctly, though. In an article from, let's see if I can get it. There we go. In an article from VentureBeat, though, in terms of the list of what games that did very well, in terms of that, the top 20 are here. They are. Number 1, Madden NFL 22. Excuse me. Number 2, FIFA 2022. Number 3, NBA 2K 22. Number 4, Tales of Arise. Number 5, Diablo 2 Resurrected. Number 6, Deathloop. Number 7, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Number 8, Ghosts of Tsushima. Number 9, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Number 10, Life is Strange True Color. Number 11, Mario Kart 8. Number 12, Diablo Prime Evil Collection. Number 13, Sonic Colors Ultimate. Number 14, Minecraft. Number 15, WarioWare Get It Together. Number 16, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Number 17, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 18, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Number 19, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. And number 20, Mortal Kombat 11. In regards of basically top best-selling games so far this year, it points out number 1, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Number 2, Madden NFL 22. Number 3, MLB The Show 21. Number 4, Resident Evil Village. Number 5, Super Mario 3D World. Number 6, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Number 7, Mario Kart 8. Number 8, Minecraft. Number 9, Monster Hunter Rise, which is pretty amazing for a game that's only available on the Switch at this time. We know that's coming to PC, though. And number 10, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. In terms of the top best-selling games of the last 12 months, it has Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War at number 1, Assassin's Creed Valhalla at number 2, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales at number 3, Madden NFL 22 at number 4, Madden NFL 21 at number 5, Mario Kart 8 at number 6, Animal Crossing New Horizon at number 7, FIFA 21 at number 8, Minecraft at number 9, and MLB The Show at number 10. In terms of what was the best-selling games on Nintendo's platform, particularly the Nintendo Switch, it has Mario Kart 8 at number 1, WarioWare Get It Together at number 2, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at number 3, Diablo 2 Resurrected at number 4, Animal Crossing New Horizon at number 5, Pokemon Sword and Shield at number 6, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword at number 7, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at number 8. Super Mario 3D World at number 9. Sonic Colors Ultimate at number 10. Over on the PlayStation side, though, most likely the PS5 and all, they have Madden NFL 22 at number 1. FIFA 22 at number 2. NBA 2K22 at number 3. Deathloop at number 4. Tales of Arise at number 5. Ghost of Tsushima at number 6. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales at number 7. Diablo 2 Resurrected at number 8. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War at number 9. And Life is Strange True Colors at number 10. Over on the Xbox platform, we have Madden NFL 22 at number 1. FIFA 22 at number 2. NBA 2K22 at number 3. Diablo Resurrected at number 4. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War at number 5. Tales of Arise at number 6. Diablo Prime Evil Collection at number 7. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 at number 8. Assassin's Creed Valhalla at number 9. And number 10 is Life is Strange True Colors. As far as consoles go, it seems as though the PS5 came out on top. In the article from Venture Beats, it's also said, as for the PS5 coming out on top, this is similar to when Xbox Series X bested the PS5 in July in terms of dollar sales. The company that was able to produce and ship the most consoles were able to sell the most consoles. Supplies is the bottleneck. PlayStation 5 was the best-selling hardware platform of September in both units and dollars. PS5 is the best-selling hardware platform of 2021 year-to-date in dollars, while Nintendo Switch led in units. But this does bring an end to Nintendo Switch streak at the top of the hardware charts. September 2021 snapped a remarkable 33 consecutive month streak that Nintendo Switch was on the market, leading the platform in hardware unit sales. November 2018 was the last month a platform other than Nintendo Switch, the PS4, led the market in unit sales. So that's very impressive for the Switch to last that long for 33 months at the top and finally coming to the end. So it's great to see that the PS5 is doing very well, although I do question how much of that is bots and scalpers buying the systems while screwing everyone over and then reselling it though. So I do question how much of that is people actually able to get in a PS5 and how much of it is, like I mentioned, the scalpers and the bots. As for the games though, well, despite Deathloop not available on the Xbox Series S, despite Microsoft owning Bethesda, it seems Deathloop is doing very well, and it does make me kind of wonder how Ghostwire Tokyo, another Bethesda game that's coming as a time exclusive to the PS5 first before making their way over to the Xbox system, how that one will fare though. It's nice to see WarioWare Get It Together is doing good for Nintendo though. Hopefully this will maybe push them to consider let's take a look at the Wario Land series and let's see if we could bring that back. That I certainly would like to see, but to see Tales of Arise do as well on the charts though is really nice. Hopefully this will be a signal for Bandai Namco to continue the series and maybe produce more entries, maybe something from the Nintendo Switch. I mean, I wouldn't mind a port of the other Tales game making their way over to the Switch, but I wouldn't mind one designed specifically for the Nintendo Switch in mind, like similar to what Capcom did with Monster Hunter Rise, and look how well that did on the Nintendo Switch and all. And hopefully maybe this will open the door to perhaps maybe consider doing a Xenosaga collection and all that stuff. Maybe revise that idea. I know there are people that would be willing to pick that up, or even that Baton Kaitos, if I'm saying the name correctly, maybe revise that series to be exact. So overall, the takeaway is the streak for the Nintendo Switch came to an end after being up at 33 months though. It will be very interesting to see how well the Switch does in October and November, especially with the Switch OLED now out in the wild though. Great that WarioWare Get It Together did very well. Hopefully this opens the door for, like I said, more Wario Land games though. And Tales of Arise is doing very well for Bandai Namco, so I'm glad that game certainly has found its audience, particularly on both the PS5 and the Xbox Series S and X. I'm hoping this means we'll see more entries into the series. I definitely have grown into enjoying the Bandai Namco's Tale series, though, and hopefully we'll see some entries make their way over to the Nintendo Switch. That'll be great if that happens. So, very impressive September on the NPD charts. It's going to be interesting to see what October is going to be, especially with Metroid Dread. That's going to be really interesting to see how well that game does here in the US and where it ranks on the NPD charts, whether it's on the top 20 to where it ranks on the top 10 best-selling Nintendo games for the month of October 2021. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with an interview from Suda51 regarding the future of Grasshopper Interactive and all. So, or I think manufacturer, sometimes I get that name confusing. So, we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the man himself, Suda51. Now, there are those who do like a lot of the games that Suda51 does. Most of his games are like punk or different styles in a way, though. They're sort of unique, though. They certainly have a fan base and all that stuff. Not every game is going to appeal that he does is going to appeal to everyone, but it definitely has a good fan base, though. His recent release, No More Heroes 3, is definitely a fun game, and I definitely recommend it to those who are fans of the last 2 No More Heroes games, or Travis Strikes Again. It's not perfect, though, but it still is a good game on the Nintendo Switch, nevertheless. Well, recently, Suda51 sat down and had some interviews with several different sites like Destructoids and Video Game Chronicles, and they made some interesting comments. Plus, the studio's been acquired by the company NetEase, though. In several articles, though, let's see if I can get them. There they are. All right, here we go. The one from Destructoid, though, he basically talked about certain things, though, during an interview with them. Here's what it says. No More Heroes 3 is packed with hints about the future of the series, but now none of them are happening. Suda told us while working on No More Heroes 3, he decided to put the series on pause. The game's polarized reception had nothing to do with it. It's more about Suda's priorities. His plans for the next decade is to work on games starring characters owned by his company, Grasshopper Manufacturer, though. And that doesn't just mean the big number games in the series. Over, and there's a video of this interview, though. I asked Suda if he might consider continuing the No More Heroes as a comic, an animated show, or with a small-scale game like Travis Strikes Again. None of those ideas are part of his plans right now, but many of the characters from No More Heroes 3, like New Type Camus, Midori, and Notorious, could return for their own game. Grasshopper owns all 3 of them, while Travis and most other characters from No More Heroes are the property of Marvelous Inc. When pressed further, Suda actually confirmed that Notorious, if I'm saying this person's name correctly, will play a role in one of the 3 games that Grasshopper is currently working on, and one of them might be a new entry in the Shadows of the Dam series. That's right. Suda announced that Grasshopper has reclaimed the rights to the Shadow of the Dam franchise. That must have cost them something, right? I'll be shocked if they spent all that money without a plan to at least port the original game to model consoles, with a potential sequel to follow, though. During the interview, though, with Suda, he talked about all that, how fusing with video game console made Travis immortal, why Dr. Naomi has turned into a tree, the chance of Grasshopper versus River City crossover, and a whole lot more. Suda, a former high school badminton champion, even teased the release of a giant Suda-verse badminton game. Is he joking? Maybe, but then again, Cat Girls Without Salad started as a joke too. So there's a video of him having a discussion with Destructoid, though, but to hear him basically reclaiming the rights to the Shadows of the Dam from EA is definitely nice, though. I do think the game definitely flew under the radar, and I'm hoping, though, if there's another shot to let that game happen again, they will do like a remake or a port of the game. I personally would love to see Shadows of the Dam come to the Nintendo Switch if that ever happens. And if a sequel does happen, though, I would love to see a sequel to Shadows of the Dam. Hopefully that would get... Hopefully that will happen, though, but time will ultimately tell. As for No More Heroes and all, it's a little unfortunate that the series is now owned by Marvelous Inc., though. I'm hoping one day he'll get the rights back for those, but for now that doesn't seem to be the case, though. But it looks like some of the characters might see future entries of their own and all, so that certainly is nice. Over at Video Game Chronicles, though, he talked about a lot of stuff ranging from basically his split from the parent company Gun Home, which kept the majority of its former team members, though. He talked about No More Heroes 3, and he talked about what obviously what he has plans for the next decade and all that stuff. He talked about the type of games he wants to develop, and he said, quote, "While I wouldn't say these games we plan to make are going to be full-on AAA titles, they aren't going to be ready small scale or anything like the 3DS shooter Liberation Maiden either. I say they're probably going to be around AA scale games, as in games itself will be around AA level scales, and the core of the team making them will be relatively compact teams. One of these games could potentially be the horror game Suda has said he'd like to make in collaboration with Sweeney." Suda went on to state that he wouldn't rule out devaluing from the original IP plans should an attractive property become available or a good idea for reviving one of its own. With regards to the 3 new IPs I mentioned, we may actually go slightly different route, he explains. What I mean is that we may actually decide to do like one new original IP, the one we're working on right now, and then make a game version of an existing IP for our second game, and then go back and do a new one for the third one, though. There are a few games from back in the day I like to get my hands on and try to do a reboot or a remake of some kind, or we may get approached by the right company with the right IP and decide to go with that. We'll see how things work out, though. The writer and director clarified that while Grasshopper doesn't own the license for the likes of No More Heroes and Killer 7, it does hold the rights to Silver Case series, Flowers, Sun, and Rain, Killer is Dead, and Shadows of the Dam. While I don't have any current plans or anything in the work, if I were to go back and revise some of our past titles, it will most likely be one of these, he's confirmed. If I were to do something with one of our past titles, I don't know if it will be an actual sequel or something more equal to a remake or remaster, but one would be interesting is revising Killer is Dead. You know how they found another director did Suicide Squad, and then James Gunn did the reboot, the Suicide Squad? I might do something like that, like take Killer is Dead and remake it into The Killer is Dead or something, though. He also talked about Nintendo IP, and he talked about if they could, be from frequent collaborations. Nintendo Suda said, again, I don't have any concrete plans at the moment, but of course, I'm always open to collaborating with Nintendo. It would be really cool to be able to work on a reboot or remake of some of their older Nintendo IPs that have been around for a while, especially some of the ones that have been dormant for a long time. If I'm going to do something really surprising, all the gamers out there, then I like to do it together with Nintendo, which obviously that would be great if he could work something out with Nintendo and maybe revise some of their IPs. I mean, that would certainly be something I would love to see if that ever happens, though. Whether it does or not remains to be seen at this time, but hopefully maybe one day it will actually happen. But time will ultimately tell if that truly has come to fruition or not, though. Other things that we pointed out is that it seems as though Suda51 was basically approached to do a Deadpool game at one point, but it definitely fell apart, though. Speaking with VGC, he explained that he previously been approached by Activision over plans to make a Deadpool game. Here's something a lot of people probably don't know. Suda stated in the interview, over a decade ago, I was actually approached by Activision at one point to make a Deadpool game. It was something after the first No More Heroes came out. Obviously, that plan name came to fruition, and it fizzled out of the initial planning stage, but had some really cool ideas at the time, though. Obviously, Deadpool went basically with Activision took Deadpool and had High Moon Studios worked on it, though. Basically, though, the game was met with mixed reviews and all that, so it didn't really respond positive to a lot of people. But the idea of Suda51 doing a Deadpool game, that would be kind of interesting. I mean, I would be great if they could go back and maybe try again this time. I mean, the idea of Deadpool and Suda51, that would really be neat. And last but not least, though, regarding Suda51, is that apparently they have now basically are under the arms of NetEase, which is a Chinese company, though. In a article posted by also Destructoid, it reads, quote, Grasshopper Manufact, the studio founded by No More Heroes creator Suda51, has announced that it has joined Chinese conglomerate NetEase Games. The two companies will work together on a range of brand new console releases. As we all know, NetEase Games has developed many excellent games in the past, and I've been long aware of NetEase creative capability, writes Suda51 in a press release. While talking with NetEase about developing more unique console games together, we resonated. After a lot of thoughts, we unanimously decided to get together in the long term through deeper cooperation in creating more good content for gamers. Grasshopper Manufacturer Inc. moving towards a brand new future of game development is now reborn and will continue to create history. Stay tuned. NetEase Games also spoke of its excitement for this new partnership. Grasshopper Manufacturer is one of a kind in terms of mood setting, movement design, and narrative rhythm design. Their strong passion for creativity, which has continued for decades, is extremely admirable. NetEase is honored to be the companion of Mr. Suda and Grasshopper Manufacturer on its new journey into the future. NetEase also notes its intent to allow Grasshopper to retain creative freedom over its titles while offering support for its wealth of available sources. NetEase also extends its invitation to other talented studios throughout Japan in what appears to be an acquisition drive ashore. The collaborative state that it hopes to use both its deep resource and global networks of industry figureheads to support any studio to choose to work under its umbrella. Now, hearing about that, I'm a little bit mixed and all. I mean, it's sort of the same view I had with basically when it was learned that Platinum was going to go with Tencent and all. I think this happened last year. And while I understand they want to do their own thing and have more freedom and all that stuff, the idea of being under a Chinese conglomerate and all that stuff has raised some concerns for some people, especially with the China's human rights abuse and all, and not to mention the situation we saw at one point with the whole Hong Kong protest with Bliss Chong, where basically he shouted "Free Hong Kong" to the point that Activision suspended and pulled his reward money, and this through major backlash against Activision Blizzard, as it gave the impression of they were appealing to the Chinese government and all and trying to censor his right to free speech. It eventually led to him being reinstated, though, but the damage was already done. Not to mention, when Overwatch was being released on the Nintendo Switch, just days before the event was supposed to be held at the Nintendo World Store, they canceled that event, though. No reason given, but many suspected it had to do with the Hong Kong protests, to be exact, and many believe Nintendo did not want that kind of attention in any shape or in any form, though. So there's some concerns about it, though. Maybe this will turn out to be good and all for Grasshopper Manufact and Suda51, though, but I can understand why some people might be somewhat concerned about this. So overall, though, great that basically Suda51 got the rights to Shadows of a Dam. Hopefully we'll see maybe a remake of the first one or a sequel, though. Great that he's working on some new games, though. I hope to see them come to the Nintendo Switch. That would be great. And very interesting to hear the fact that he was approached to do a Deadpool game, but that never came to fruition. Hopefully maybe that idea will pop up again maybe at one point down the road. And while it's great that he's able now to have more creative freedom, though, working with NetEase and all that stuff, I understand that there are some people that might be concerned about this, given that this is a Chinese conglomerate, and there are concerns about the idea that if they speak out against, China's policies and all, that these companies might censor them or might do something else to them and all. So there is some concerns about it, very similar to what we saw when Platinum decided to team up with Tencent and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video, and this one has to do with the Switch's online expansion pack and, well, the negative response it's sort of getting, though. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the Switch expansion that was announced, though. And, well, the response has not been great, especially for those on YouTube. Now, as we know, one of the things that Nintendo has added with their Switch Online service is the ability to play classic games. They started out with basically the NES and Super NES games, and the library has certainly grown. However, Nintendo has sort of shall we say, dragged their feet when it comes to releasing new games as part of their Switch's online service. And not everyone has basically been happy with their online structure and all that stuff. Well, recently, rumors started to pop up that Nintendo was starting to look at bringing games from like Game Boy and Game Boy Color, but not Game Boy Advance, although I think that they probably will bring Game Boy Advance games over. I think it's a little ridiculous that they won't, to possibly bringing Nintendo 64 games over, since that would be the next system that came after the Super Nintendo retired. The N64 was next. Well, they did announce that one as well when it was shown during, I think, one of their directs, that they were bringing over Sega Genesis and Nintendo 64 games. But then came the price point of what they wanted to release it, and that's where things kind of went. It has people, or shall we say, for those on the internet, quote, up in arms, though. In terms of an article, in several different articles, though, it points out basically how much it is, and apparently it's going to be the expansion packs will cost like $49.99. That's like $50 a year, and basically a little bit more for the family pack. Now, the response to this has not sat well with everybody, though, and on YouTube, the trailer has ranked over 50k dislikes, though. Last time I checked, it was up to like maybe 80k or something like that. But anyway, in an article from Gaming Rant, it reads that the announcement of the new Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack is not going over well with fans, as it's evidenced by the latest trailer's dislike count. With over 50,000 dislikes on the latest trailer and counting only days after the trailer went online, the announcement seems to be a rare misstep by the gaming giant. The dislike has little to do with the quality of the video itself, but more of a reflection of Nintendo fans' anger at the recent announcement regarding the expansion pack. Nintendo fans were shocked to find out that the soon-to-be-released Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack will cost $49.99, $50 here in the US, per year, a full $30 more than Nintendo Switch Online basic package. Fans expressed their overwhelmingly negative opinion to the announcement online. This came just a few weeks after the announcement that the expansion pack would allow players to access and play classic Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis games on their Nintendo Switch. What was previously seen as a massive marketing win for Nintendo quickly turned sour as players balked at the price to play some of their favorite classic games, though. This anger has spilled over onto the announcement trailer YouTube video on the Nintendo channel. Only 2 days after the trailer was posted, the video had already garnered over 50,000 dislikes compared to 15,000 likes. With over a 3-to-1 ratio of dislikes to like, the video is on track to become the most unpopular video on Nintendo's channel. And just as fans did on Twitter following the announcement, the video comments are full of fans expressing their outrage at the price of the expansion pack. The announcement that Nintendo Switch owners were going to be able to access classic N64 and Sega Genesis games last month, Nintendo Direct was incredibly popular. Players were salivating, if I'm saying the name correctly, at the notion of getting to replay classics like The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time or Mario Kart 64. It was also seen as an opportunity for older games to share their childhood experience with their children and help bridge the gap between gaming generations, though. Instead, the move has Nintendo reeling. It's not the first time that Nintendo has found itself in a PR snafu when it comes to the Switch. Nintendo disappointed its fans with the recent Nintendo Switch OLED announcement, as many players were anticipating the next version of Switch would have 4K capability, though there was always rumors about that, and sometimes some people raise their expectation too high and improve hardware. But even that disappointment didn't anger Nintendo fans to the same level that the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack price appears to have. Nintendo has yet to publicly comment on the fans' response to the announcement, though. So, it's obviously not everybody is a fan of this announcement that Nintendo made. Are there people who are simply doing it just for trolling, though? I wouldn't rule out the possibility that people who are disliking this are trolling, but I find it hard to believe everybody is trolling on this announcement. I really don't. I think not everybody is happy with this announcement at all, and I can understand why some people are frustrated, though. Is this going to have an impact on Nintendo? Is that going to change their approach to this? I'm not really sure. I think it's most likely that there are people who think this deal is good and will go forward and spend money on it. I've even seen people who basically say those who complain are just going to buy it anyway, and that might be true. Sometimes these complaints don't reach the level of enough that forces a company to course correct or anything like that. That's not to say that hasn't happened before. We've seen companies had to course correct, like EA course corrected with Star Wars Battlefront 2 after the massive backlash they got with the loot boxes. Paramount had to course correct with the design of Sonic after the backlash over the first design, which looked, let's just say, when you have fan art that could do a better job, you can see why people are not happy with it. So I have to say is I'm not really sure Nintendo is going to course correct it, especially when we saw people complain about Pokemon Sword and Shield, and yet despite people being angry about that you can't transfer your old Pokemons into this game, though, it wasn't enough to stop the game from being successful and all. So I'm not really sure if the controversy is going to reach a point towards Nintendo may have to rethink or change the price. But then again, it could happen. I mean, it could reach to a point that Nintendo may have to reconsider the price point or maybe change some of their approach before this launch. So we'll have to wait and see if it happens. We'll have to wait and see what happens, though. We'll see if Nintendo is still going to stick with that $50 price tag or if they're going to change it, though. But overall, I will say the response to Nintendo's expansion pass has certainly not been in the positive, though. Whether or not it's enough for Nintendo to be forced to course correct or change something such as pricing or not, that remains to be seen or anything like that. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the situation with Metroid Dread, though? Do you agree with what the creator of God of War or the person who worked on God of War and Twisted Metal? Do you agree that this is bad game design? Do you agree with his decision that games shouldn't be difficult or challenging, or do you strongly disagree with what he has to say though? Did you download the latest update for Metroid Dread? Have you experienced this bug that was first reported though? And what about the allegations about poor management and organization at Mercury System, though? Do you think these allegations are true? And if so, do you think that the higher-ups need to be fired or be let go or anything like that? What are your thoughts about the NPD charts? Are you surprised that Nintendo got the Switch got dethroned after being up there for like 33 months, though? Do you think Nintendo will take the top spot now with the Switch OLED out and all that? Are you pleased to see games like WarioWare Get It Together or Tales of Arise doing very well and all? What are your thoughts about the interview with Suda51 had with Destructoid and several other outlets, though? Are you glad to see that they got the rights to basically Shadows of the Dam? Are you glad to see some of the characters from No More Heroes 3 will get their own games in any way? Were you surprised to hear that he was approached to do a Deadpool game and all? And what's your opinion about NetEase now owning Grasshopper Manufacturer? Do you think this is a good thing, or do you think this is a bad thing and all? And what are your thoughts about the whole situation with Switch Online expansion video being downvoted on YouTube? Do you think that the backlash or the controversy on the internet is going to be enough to pressure Nintendo to possibly change course, maybe change the price or something like that? Or do you think that it's not enough to convince Nintendo to change the direction that they are going with it right now? In other words, charging like $50 for the expansion packs, though. Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, excuse me, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!